What is the one mistake that can ruin your whole life? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. My dad worked for a town government. Though he wasn't a firefighter, his office was housed in the main fire station for the town. In the entry foyer of the station, there was a shelf of banged, bent, punctured, scratched, scraped, etc. helmets. They were all taken from crash victims in the town helped by the firefighters and EMTs who lived. They all looked pretty gnarly, but saved a life like they were supposed to. It made quite an impression on teenage me, which obviously was the intent, and to this day, I never ever ride without a helmet. Story 2. Credit cards are not free money. Have some impulse control. You will end up paying for that stupid thing you didn't need 2 and 3 times over. Your money will go much further when you aren't paying 25% interest on the balance you're carrying month to month. Credit can be really useful and can help you get out of a tight spot. But if you don't pay that balance down quickly, you're going to end up throwing a lot of your money in the trash. Don't let the balance pile up. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Don't let that balance pile up. Falling down the debt rabbit hole is far easier than you think. This is the predicament I'm in now, lol. I've barely used my card over the years, but the interest is so high that my balance actually went up instead of down, despite all the money I've put into it. But I don't exactly have enough money on hand right now to just put a fat wad of cash on it and bring the balance down to a point where I feel comfortable, not even just completely paid off. Don't get a student credit card, y'all, lol. Story 3. Listening to loud music. If you are doing it, stop. It can ruin you in ways you can't even imagine. Protect your ears. Wear earplugs on concerts and parties. Never wear earbuds again or on the lowest volume. Edit. I'm not talking about hearing loss. Not even tinnitus, which can be quite scary. I'm talking about pain hyperacusis, which makes every sound physically hurt your ears. And it's not just some mild pain, it can be debilitating. It leaves you homebound. And the worst thing is, doctors have no idea about it, neither are they interested in it. So please, protect your ears. It's not a joke. Wish someone would tell me that on time. Story 4. There's a guy who lives in my mom's neighborhood who is essentially a zombie after doing some kind of drug at a party like 10 years ago. Don't know what kind or what exactly happened. All I know is he took something and went from a football prodigy with a scholarship to someone who needs in-home care. He just stands across from the corner store at the entrance of the neighborhood all day. I wave to him whenever I pass by, but he doesn't acknowledge me. He just stands there in his own world. People often mistake him as a homeless guy and leave food clothes for him since he's always barefoot, in torn-up clothes and lacking a jacket. Apparently, he lives with his mom, who was supposed to be his caregiver, but I get the feeling she doesn't do much caring for him. Story 5. It's a different kind of hell, man. I have ADHD and a decade-long depression family history of substance abuse. Also a very bad chronic pain. I wasn't ever going to use drugs, but I was prescribed opioids for pain because nothing else worked and the pain was so bad I couldn't finish high school. When I was taking a normal 15 milligrams a day dosage of oxycodone, I started sertraline, an antidepressant which made me incredibly depressed. A weird side effect. I felt emotional pain like never before, from a medication that was supposed to help. Well, turns out Oxy is pretty good at numbing you up. I went from 15 milligrams a day to 100 milligrams a day, a lot with no tolerance, in 2 to 3 weeks. I quit, well, ran out, stayed off it for a year or so. Then I tried some again, and oh boy. First you convince yourself to take it once a week, then 5 days on, 10 days off, then it becomes 7 on 7 off, then something happens in life, and it's every day. I've been on 30-40 mg a day for the past 3 years and quit several times. But as if the addiction weren't enough, I actually still do need this garbage for my pain, which is worse than ever. Oh, and fun fact, lots of side effects. Fatigue, stomach issues, emotional numbness, anxiety, and withdrawals are worse than a kidney stone, flu, and emotional breakdown all at once. And of course, my withdrawals are 10 times worse than most people, since my brain is used to feeling pain, uses these pathways all the time. I get the pain aspect of withdrawals 90% worse than other, but healthy people at the same dosage. Don't do drugs. Story 6. Doing a massive dose of THC in edible form if you're not seasoned and experienced with THC. Studies are showing that psychosis issues are being unlocked from these borderline traumatic experiences on massive doses of THC. For example, somebody who has potential for psychosis in their genetics and never smokes weed could very well permanently fuck up their life by ingesting THC one time. If they don't control the amount and go overboard the first or within the first few times of ingesting it. Emergency room visits have been going up and up for THC-related experiences, but mostly due to the fact these people who rarely or never smoke weed decide to eat a 100-200 milli candy bar, when in reality, they should be starting with 2-5 milligrams of THC and working their way up slowly. Concentrates. Dabs are a huge problem as well, as doing a few dabs within an hour period far exceeds the amount of THC anybody was ingesting much before 15 to 20 years ago. The crazy levels of THC available to us now is just ridiculous, and we won't understand the true extent of the damage being done for a while. So be careful. Story 7. Starting to count calories and see food as a number led me to first stop eating the food my parents served. Because of my sister's eating disorder, they had a very sharp eye on everything I put in my mouth to make sure I wouldn't follow her down that path. That led me to eat and then throw it all up. I measured my weight every day and was manic as hell. It has taken me years, and I don't think I will ever have a healthy relationship with food again. I used to love eating crisps, but now I just wonder how much I have to run or how long it will take me in the bathroom to get it out of my system. It might look like a good way to lose weight, but please don't do it the way I did. Food is not your enemy, so don't make it one story 8. Anything that can get you sent to prison. Employment opportunities can be very limited after that. I admit I'm more career-focused than average, but bad employment opportunities can mean a lifetime of poverty and struggling. Add to that, some places won't even rent to you if you have certain felonies, so you're stuck living in the only low-income area that will rent to you, often unsafe, working the only shitty job that will hire you. It can really be a horrible spiral that is difficult to get out of. Having children with the wrong person. It will ruin your life in all of the small ways that seep into your life quality that you can't even imagine. Having children too young, before you have at least some degree of stability in life. You don't have to be a millionaire, but having children when you're $10 away from not being able to make rent is a terrible decision and rarely has good outcomes. Story 9. My cat puked, and the owner of the Airbnb gave me a day to leave during the eclipse weekend, so the hotel I could find that was cheapest will most likely be so much that I cannot afford the deposit and move-in fees for permanent housing. I was just about to find out next week if I got approved for. Now all of that is ruined, and I am just in this hotel for a week. I rent a car from Hertz to do deliveries for Uber Eats. The app is glitching for me right now and I can't work. I am waiting for the refund from Airbnb for the large amount they charged me on the 5th that made finding a monthly rate impossible, forcing me into a hotel spending all this money. All because I will not leave my cat. The owner of the Airbnb told me I could stay if I got rid of my cat. I would never do that. He is my best friend. Now I have this last week in this hotel with him until we are completely homeless, so I am trying to find a home for him, but he is a tough cat to find a place for, and I am afraid for him. Story 10. I don't have kids, but when I was on old, I went out with a guy over a fairly brief period, and it seemed to me that he had PTSD because of what the mother of his child, they had never been a couple, was doing to him and his child. It was pretty sick stuff. It's very difficult to get full custody of a very young child if the mother, as unfit as you like, is clever, evil, absolutely determined, very plausible and relentless. He hadn't actually tried because he knew that the moment he went down that road, it would be all-out war. He had moved heaven and earth to damp down the hostilities at every turn. But she was an extremely hostile person who was basically at war with the world. He was a lovely, patient man who adored his daughter and wanted to rescue her. He just didn't know what to do, and I believed rightly, he was totally outgunned by the woman. He was a wreck of a man. It was very sad to see. In my opinion, there was zero chance of his having a relationship with a woman with all this trauma going on in his life. Story 11. Smoking, okay, may sound lame, but hear me out. I started when I was 16. It weakened my interstitial membranes, causing umbilical hernias. Hardened arteries causing heart failure that caused lung damage, asthma, and COPD. It's got to the stage now that with some older smokers, GPs are literally triaging your death. It's quite sad. I gave up 14 years ago. The lung specialist says that I am unlikely to experience any more damage, and my lungs will age normally as they should from now on. But just bending over leaves me to struggling to breathe. Statistically, reaching the retirement age of 68 for me, in this country in good health, is highly unlikely. The other bit, investing in a pension properly from a young age. Story 12. Recently, I told my 18-year-old college freshman baby brother, one of the worst things he could do right now is get a DUI. That'll stop him from driving, getting a job, and if he's not getting kicked out of school, he's on financial aid, make it very difficult to get back and forth. I've also talked to him about how dangerous drunk driving is, and they taught him about it in school. But he never realized how severe the consequences are, even if he doesn't hurt anyone or get in an accident. My little brother is admittedly kind of an airhead and thinks if nothing happened, he should just get a slap on the wrist. But I think that actually scared him straight, and he does call if he needs to be picked up. Story 13. Having kids. I have 4, and I love them to death. Love them enough to not want an abortion anyways. If I didn't have kids, I'd either be super strung out with nothing but addiction keeping me afloat, or 100% career-focused a real job and a home by car things to my name. Either way, it would be easier than what I have now. I'll never tell my kids they were mistakes. They're not. Plus, my mom did that. It feels pretty crappy as a kid. Realistically, the kids aren't. The pregnancies were, sure. But there are kids. That shouldn't happen. An unwanted pregnancy. Make sense? But the guilt that I'm not taking care of them right, because my money, time, and health aren't right, is so rough. Knowing they should have better, and watching them cry as they realize some people do have better. That I was not prepared for. Plus the inability to do literally anything for myself. Dentist, gym, working where when I want to, is pretty fed. The constant bickering with the bad choices of my past, kids' fathers, there's 2 of those to deal is no fun, and again puts the kids in a bad spot. I'm a firm believer in there's no right time. But I've also learned you should have some serious and in-depth conversations before having a kid with someone. Things like, if we split, what are your views on dating with children? And if we fall on hard times, are you going to blame the child me? And if we both work 40-hour weeks, what do you expect to do in the house and with the child? That last one sounds stupid, but it's important. I thought I was with the right guy both times. I was wrong. Story 14. Getting bitten by a wild animal and not going to the ER. This just happened to a family member of mine yesterday, except I eventually talked them into going to the hospital. They got rabies prophylaxis, tetanus shot, and antibiotics. Rabies is obviously the scary 100% fatal one if not treated. Today we found out that the animal has canine distemper, so it would have died a horrible death in the wild. Animal control euthanized it, which is mercy compared to how it would have died. Plus there's a lot of really bad life-altering diseases humans can catch besides rabies. Story 15. Refusing a job offer because you think you are in your comfort zone, place of work, and end up getting fired out of the blue. Biking while busy with the phone is one of the most stupid things I have seen people doing. Drag racing in the street like Cameron Heron can put you in jail for your whole life just because you wanted to have fun, which is very, very stupid. Going to school and college. Spending your time in schools is a waste of your youth. Why not be homeschooled and then gain skills instead? Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.